Hello and welcome to Stuck in the Elevator Pitch. We're the two dudes and we like to talk, so the only way that we can elevate a pitch is when we get stuck in it. Join us in the hot, sweaty metal box of this podcast as we pitch to you our continuation of Zack Snyder's DC Universe, also known as the Snyderverse. The Snyderverse indeed. Who would have thought we'd be here
Stuck in a metal box,
universe?
probably most people.
Well, discussing a universe that was supposed to be dead 5 years ago and is now reborn, potentially continuing on the likes of HBO Max, which is where I want to start my little pitch today.
Yeah, okay.
So I've taken the HBO Max route and I've decided on one pretty clear thing, that this will be a TV show.
Okay.
This will be a high-budget TV show.
Mm-hmm.
This will be an epic saga.
Ooh.
Telling a story of a character that I am desperate to see in TV form because I think it will do him justice, and that is the best character in the Snyderverse, Batman himself, Bruce Wayne, played by the one and the only Ben Affleck.
I really thought you were going to zag there. I thought you were going to go with something like Cyborg just to try and throw me off.
No. Ben Affleck's Batman, that's what I'm interested in, and that's where this show wants to go. I think we know we end up in the nightmare world. We know that is where the movies will take us, but this is a bridge. This is a something, I don't know how to describe it, something that takes us forward in the universe, set shortly after the likes of Zack Snyder's Justice League. So we know at the end of that movie, just for a bit of context, that they are building the Hall of Justice in the ruins of Wayne Manor, that Lex Luthor has told Deathstroke who Batman is. He has told him that Bruce Wayne is Batman's secret identity, and that is where this show takes place. In the weeks, maybe a couple of months following the end of Zack Snyder's Justice League.
Okay, that makes sense.
So I'm envisioning a world where the Justice League have returned to their corners of the world. Wonder Woman to France, I think it is, at the Louvre.
Wasn't she in
But I just butchered saying it. Yeah, she was, but she went to the UK, but she was in the museum.
Oh, right.
Wasn't that in France? I think that was France. Anyway, she's somewhere in Europe. Superman's obviously in Metropolis. Cyborg's, somehow not destroying the world, and Aquaman's somewhere else. Not really interested, to be honest. Just ignore him, but not here.
What about the Flash?
He's gone too. Don't worry about him.
He's in the past somewhere.
Yeah, the reason being, this show is all about Batman, and this is about the world of Gotham in which we find Batman in. This draws on lots of elements, lots of Easter eggs, lots of ideas that have been sort of posed in the Snyderverse.
Right.
In whether it be tiny Easter eggs, whether it be scraps of written paper and files that were never meant to be seen properly, which I'll explain in a minute. This is a show that tries to bring all of that together and tries to drive the universe forward, but in a sustainable way that gives us lots of eyes into Gotham, rather than just Batman and Alfred, who obviously also needs to return in this show. So, where do we start? I'm just gonna set the scene. Gonna give you a little teaser. So this can be the trailer if you want. Imagine this is the trailer for the show. It's the Batcave.
There you go, done.
It's night. We see the bat signal in the sky, knowing that Batman is not home, and we pan through the Batcave, and as we move through it, as we suddenly, I don't know how I'm trying to explain this. Suddenly, a figure starts to emerge from the water.
Ooh.
Just walking. A shadowy figure, so we can't tell who they are. They walk through with purpose for Batcave. They know this location, they know where they are, and they know what they're looking for. They arrive and look up at the Robin costume. They stand and they stare up at it, and there's a brief moment, and we don't really know who this character is or what their motivations are, but then they grab it and they throw it down, smashing it to pieces. with maybe some sort of weapon or something. You know,
I was going to say, that's a very fragile Robin suit
but
made
he
of porcelain.
stomps on it. He beats it within an inch of his life, tearing it bit from bit.
Right, first of all, before you pause, because I want to kind of change up how I kind of do this in many ways, because you like to lay Easter eggs a little bit out. So I'm going to make predictions about who this is, because of course, if this was being made...
Sorry, just to clarify, you're going to make predictions about my fictional Snyderverse.
Yeah, because if this was being made, so would an audience. I reckon that's Jason Todd.
On, whatever. Okay. Interesting guess. Why do you think it's Jason Todd?
Because...
No, I'm not going to let you spoil this. As we turn away, as he turns away, he's done what he came for.
Yeah.
He starts to walk back into the water. He came in the water, by the way. I don't know if I said that.
He did.
From water.
Yeah, emerged from water.
So he walks straight back into the water, and we see his face, but it's not a face. Sorry, we do see it. As he walks away, we see his face, a face we don't recognise in the universe. And as he slowly submerges himself into water, he pulls a mask from like his hood all the way down, and it
his hood.
a red hood.
There we go.
And this is Red Hood. But we're not going to spoil for the audience who Red Hood is yet, because it's a mystery. It's a mystery,
sure.
okay?
Okay.
For those of you that know, we are going to spoil it. This is Jason Todd. This is Robin. A Robin that we have not seen referenced in this universe, other than on... boy, wait for it. Other than Amanda Waller's fact file for Killer Croc in the first Suicide Squad movie, where it says that Killer Croc killed Jason Todd. Robin number 2.
I missed that. Really?
Yeah, because you don't see it on screen, because it's like a picture of a prop, and that's what it is.
Oh,
it is. Anyway, that's what it says. So I told you I was deep diving these Easter eggs. So Jason Todd died, but he has not been hailed the hero in the way that what do you call it? What's the other one called?
Dick Grayson.
Dick Grayson has been hailed by Batman, remembered by Batman, is always referenced, but you never see Jason Todd referenced, and in this series we will discover why.
Ooh.
But that's not the only people in Gotham out to get Batman, because Jason Todd is here, and let's be clear, he is here for revenge.
Yeah.
And he's not the only one in need of revenge. Deathstroke, who now knows who Bruce Wayne is, the Bat, is out to get his vengeance, along with many, many other people. Batman has put a lot of people away in his career, and he is going to come face to face with a myriad, a plethora of Batman iconic villains throughout this series.
Okay.
But
I was gonna say, are you gonna go into why Deathstroke wants revenge? What's he wanting revenge for?
Yeah, I'll tell you.
Okay.
It's already been set. It's already been explained if you'd actually watched the movies. Or read the Easter eggs. I'm not really sure if this... I can't remember where I got my information from at this point. I've been spending a lot of time on Google for this. Oh, God, there's so much Google. So this series to outlet would be an 8 to 12 hour-long episode series sprawling across Gotham with a few select episodes focusing on other characters in the Bat's life.
Okay.
So this won't just be a Batman show. Although he is the primary and main antagonist, he would be the main character for most episodes, but we might have 1 or 2 episodes that focus in on a different perspective. They give us another character's ways of looking at it. I think that's really important, because I think Gotham is run by the madmen into sort of that kind of city that it's the madhouse are running the asylum, whatever that analogy is supposed to be. And I want to get into the heads of some different people and really get to sort of see their perspective on things.
Right.
The locations, again, I want this across all of Gotham. We're going to see locations we've seen before, the Batcave, the construction site of the Hall of Justice, but we're also going to see new locations. We glimpsed GCPD, Gotham City Police Department, in Zack Snyder's Justice League. I want to see more of it. I want to see that police department. Arkham. I don't really think... We've seen one shot sort of inside of Arkham, as that's where we're told Lex is in. I want to see more of Arkham. I want to see Blackgate, and I really, really want to see Wayne Enterprises.
Cool.
One of the key things I referenced Arkham and Blackgate is going to be defining the difference between the two. Madmen go to Arkham, criminals go to Blackgate.
Yeah.
And I think part of this series is going to be another character who doesn't really do anything particularly villainous yet. Dr. Hugo Strange?
Yep.
Hugo Strange?
Yep.
Yeah. Dr. Hugo Strange is going to be defining Arkham in this. This is where he gets his claws into Arkham. He's come in and is going to start basically the reform of it, because the number one criminal, the number one madman in Gotham has been captured, and that's the Joker.
Oh, Jared Leto's Joker?
As soon as we see... Yes, Jared Leto's Joker. As soon as we see Robin descend into the water, we basically smash cut, if you will, to a Batman fight scene in which he takes down the Joker and captures him and finally gets him placed in Arkham. But little does Batman know, Joker is never where he doesn't want to be.
Well, yeah.
And if Joker is in Arkham, that's because he wants to be there.
Here's the thing, though.
Yeah.
Why doesn't he know that? Like you say, little does he know. We all know that Joker only plans everything out meticulously. He always wants to be captured.
The Joker has never been captured before.
Right. Okay.
This is not the there's had to be, because this is such an aged universe. The point has to be that not all the events that you would have expected to have happened.
Right.
I think it's very important that Harley Quinn has been incarcerated many times, but Joker has never been caught. This is the big one. The big fish is about to have been captured. And that fight scene is not just focusing on Batman beating up people, but it is a coordination across the Gotham Police Department, setting up a trap to capture the Joker.
Right.
Which I think is amazing, and it's basically a big high note to start the series off. Batman has got his mojo back, and he is about to be teared down several pegs. This series is going to come at him in every single aspect of his life.
Right.
His professional life in Wayne Enterprises, his personal life with the return of his adopted son, his private life as Batman, and also the relationship that Batman has with the Joker.
Right.
All of that is going to be touched on, dealt with, and attacked by the many villains that inhabit Gotham. So we've talked about some established characters. The important ones in this series, you've got Batman, Alfred. You're going to have Joker, who's going to be a constant recurrence in Arkham. And I'll talk more about what his role in all that's going to be. Okay. Deathstroke, we know, is the sort of big Batman villain of this series, who will stay a villain. There is no anti-hero in this show.
Yeah.
He is a killer, and he will kill anyone to get what he wants.
Cool.
Lex Luthor is sort of a cameo, maybe, here and there. A few appearances across the long series. And Lex's plan is clear. He knows who the Batman is, and he wants the Batman destroyed. But he doesn't want him dead. He wants every aspect of his life destroyed.
Yeah.
And so rather than cluing in several people to just say, well, Bruce Wayne's Batman, he tells the people that the clues are there, and they need to find out who Bruce Wayne is. And he seeds that and rewards destruction with clues. So it's basically a game for Lex Luthor, and he is cluing people in as they cause more destruction and more distraction for the Bat, knowing that Deathstroke is closing in.
I like that.
Some new figures we're going to see. Obviously, Jason Todd. We're going to meet Red Hood, and we're going to see him. He's one of the characters I'd like to see an episode of, flashing back. Where has he been? What's he been doing? What does he think and feel? Which is really important. His arc should be somewhat anti-heroic. He goes from an out-and-out villain ready to destroy Bruce Wayne to someone that Bruce Wayne knows that if he needs to make the call, he can count on him.
Yeah.
We're going to see more of Commissioner Gordon, and most importantly, we're going to meet Barbara Gordon's Batgirl.
Cool. She's going to be Batgirl in this?
But in a way we have never seen before.
Right.
And I will come to that momentarily. So, what is Lex Luthor's plan?
Hold up.
Oh, go on.
Are we seeing Dick Grayson? What about the other Robins?
No, because one of them's dead.
But, like...
Dick Grayson's dead.
Dick what?
Dick Grayson's, that's his costume on the wall. Dick Grayson's dead.
I thought that was Jason Todd's costume.
No, that's Dick Grayson's costume.
So Dick Grayson's dead. What about Tim Drake?
He's not important.
Okay.
None of the others are relevant, okay?
So we're just we're at the Jason Todd point, we're not at the Tim Drake or the spoiler or the Damian Wayne point.
There will never be those as far as I'm concerned. There might be a Damian Wayne.
Okay.
Which might get referenced in a bit.
Cool.
But he's not in this. He's not an adult, or he's not an old enough child if he is around, and
he's not above the age of 8.
we'll talk about more on what the Robins are doing, because their plan is very mixed up in a very sinister plan from Lex Luthor. So what's very important is Lex Luthor is the big bad of this show, effectively. He is the mastermind. If anyone has seen Batman Arkham Origins, you will know the plan is that assassins have been hired to hunt down Batman and kill him.
Yep.
Basically, one who gets the money, one who kills him gets the money, and they're all fighting with each other to stop anyone else killing him.
Yeah.
Which I think is quite interesting. That's not really the plot here, but the idea is everyone is after Batman. And people are working together in alliances we might not have seen before to do so.
Right.
Knowing that there is a spot to work with, you basically win Lex Luthor's approval. Lex Luthor's the man who killed Superman before he was resurrected, so getting on Lex Luthor's good side is a very good place to be. Think a bit more of a less comedic version of, if you've seen the Harley Quinn TV show, where they're all sort of vying to be on the Legion of Doom, that sort of idea. They're all sort of vying for Lex Luthor's approval. Which is why some characters act in certain ways and some don't, because their motives are in different places. So Lex Luthor wants Batman dead. He doesn't want to tell people who Bruce Wayne is because he doesn't see the fun in that. This figure can't be a martyr. Batman can't be killed in service to Gotham. He has to be torn apart as a human being. Bruce Wayne has to be destroyed, and then Batman has to be destroyed, and then the public needs to discover that they are the same man. And if you tell all these villains who Bruce Wayne is, he probably won't last a day, which I think is very important and fair to say. Bruce Wayne is not infallible. Batman is not infallible. If these villains all came at him all at once, he would lose. He probably would lose, because there are some real powerhouses. But what's important is he can prepare and plan, and knowing that people are closing in on his identity can change the way he acts and responds.
Cool.
And little do you know where that is going. God, I'm so excited for the plot twist in this hypothetical show. So that's Lex Luthor's plan. To talk a bit about Deathstroke and what he feels is he doesn't particularly care about Lex Luthor. He was never really interested in working for him so much as getting the funding that he needs to be able to sort of pay for his lifestyle and take out the Batman.
Makes sense.
Deathstroke has a code, however. He is very much the antithesis of Batman in a way the Joker isn't. Joker is sort of the antithesis of the Bruce Wayne Batman conflict, the brains behind the operation. Deathstroke is an antithesis of the Bat himself, the icon, and has a code and will not kill Batman. Sorry, he will not kill Bruce Wayne, because Bruce Wayne did not wrong him. It was Batman who murdered his son.
Oh, Jericho. Right, okay, we're going down that line. Right, okay.
The events of which are left muddied. The exact happenings of the story are left muddied. But it's important that we know that Batman was responsible for the death of Deathstroke's son, and it is key that he did not kill him deliberately. It was an accident.
Same as what we see in sort of like the Titans TV series.
Yes, maybe.
You've not seen that?
I don't remember. I have, but I don't remember. The new Titans TV series. I have not seen that.
Yeah.
So no, I don't know. But basically, my idea being that there is some sort of Batman assault that happens where his son is caught in the crossfire. And because Batman refuses to kill people, his son died and he blames Batman for it. So he's not particularly interested with Deathstroke and all the other villains because he also thinks they're terrible people. He kills who he needs to kill because they deserve it. And he cannot kill Bruce Wayne because that is not a victory. Bruce Wayne is not the man who wronged him. Batman is, and it plays into the mental health illness angle that this is really important. Is every single Batman villain will be represented as a real life mental health problem. So Deathstroke is currently facing serious grief, and that is his sort of challenges. He's completely depressed and needs his son back, and the only way he feels he can vindicate and avenge his son is by killing Batman.
Makes sense.
That's his motivation. That's it.
Cool.
Batman really begins to take on, talking about the mental health thing, really begins to take on multiple personalities. in a way where the audience should question, are they the same person?
What do you mean?
As if the choices that Batman makes no longer align with Bruce Wayne's and vice versa. They can't be the same because they don't agree.
Right, okay.
Alfred can have a conversation with Bruce Wayne, which is a different conversation than Batman. And it's not true they are the same person, but it's to draw question to that idea of, are they really the same? Are they really after the same thing?
Right, okay.
Bruce Wayne's arc in this will be to denounce the Batman, knowing that the only way that he can keep the villains off his tail is to target Batman himself. So rather than Wayne Enterprises working alongside the Bat, they are funding resources to take him down.
Wow. So that's the only way he can sort of like make these villains who have been told that Bruce Wayne's Batman.
Or who think, because they haven't been told, they think that that's where they're closing in on him, and he makes the choice that the only way to prove that I'm not is to work against him.
But how does that work alongside Deathstroke having literally been told?
Because Deathstroke doesn't care who Bruce Wayne is. Deathstroke is only after Batman.
Right.
Deathstroke does not want to harm Bruce Wayne in any way. He has to kill the Bat.
Yeah.
Whereas all the other villains are trying to chase who it is to be able to help them. He isn't interested. And that's the difference in where all these motivations. It's very much along the lines of, if you've seen the show Daredevil, and all these sort of villains, you have Kingpin at the top, but all these other villains have their motivations, but they're not the same. They're not driving towards the same thing. They will make choices that help Daredevil because they don't care about that thing. They don't care about losing that money. They care about their money. And so that's the sort of thing you have. You have all these different approaches to taking down Batman. Mm-hmm. Red Hood is, again, very different to those. He does not care about Batman, particularly, although he does attack him on that front as well. He cares about Bruce Wayne and the fact that Bruce Wayne never gave him the value that he gave to Dick Grayson's Robin.
Right.
Jason Todd was Robin too. He served under him for just as long. He died, or so Batman thinks, at the hands of another one of his villains, and he could not cope with the grief, Batman, so just ignored him. He cut him out of his life. In the same stage of grief being denial. He denied that Jason Todd was sort of ever there because he still couldn't cope with the loss of Dick Grayson.
Right.
Batman's not a very strong-willed person in that sense, and he couldn't, rather than coping or trying to cope, he just cut people out of his life. And that sort of is what drives Jason Todd, is that want for recognition. So he is basically just trying to prove himself to Bruce Wayne, and Red Hood is just the guise he operates under. So Red Hood, Jason Todd, is going to be our route into the Wayne Enterprises boardroom. He is going to have made himself a very wealthy man. He is going to return under sort of false pretenses of what he wants. He wants to support Wayne. He trusts Bruce Wayne. But there is, again, a darker side to him. And again, all these characters are going to mirror Batman. The two-faced nature. Yeah. Wink, wink. Who doesn't appear because he's not important.
I got that.
But they're all this sort of two-faced idea of, like, they will present one thing, but they are after something very, very different.
Cool.
So, to clarify, Dick Grayson was Robin. Then Jason Todd was. They both died, but Jason Todd was never recognised. He was never given appreciation. Yeah. And that's all Jason Todd wants. He's basically just after acknowledgement from someone he sees as a father that he was worth his time and that he did have value.
And he didn't die for nothing.
And he didn't die for nothing. Batgirl is a very, very, very different tale. And I've taken a bit from an interesting source on this one. The Lego Batman movie. Because Barbara Gordon is going to be a political figure in Gotham. She's not mayor yet. Right. But she's somewhere in that sort of region in the way Harvey Dent was DA. Right. District Attorney. She's sort of somewhere up there in the crime political landscape. And she has a very different approach. Again, talking about two-facedness. She renounces Batman. She considers Batman to be a villain.
Oh, right.
Just as bad as the criminals in Arkham.
Right.
She's sort of working and supporting Hugo Strange in the reform of Arkham. She's sort of that plot. Because she believes that these people need help, and that locking them up in a prison isn't going to help them. They need reform. They need to know and be treated with care.
Okay.
She takes to the streets as a different hero. Someone we've never seen on the streets before.
Right.
Oracle.
Oh, right.
Not the wheelchair-bound
Watchtower sort of person.
woman in the chair Oracle. She's an Oracle who takes to the streets and sort of basically attempts to reason with villains, getting herself into some serious scrapes of danger.
Yeah.
In the process.
Okay.
And she exists to communicate them in a way that Hugo Strange cannot, because she speaks to them on their level, if you will.
So, I've got a question, and I've also got a suggestion.
Okay.
Question is, does that work?
What do you mean?
Oracle's whole idea of being able to communicate with these people and almost reason with them, does it work? Is it shown to actually be effective?
It depends who. And this is more about that approach of ideas, and where she gets into scrapes is some people can be reasoned with. Some of them, the villains that we consider to be more sympathetic, I'm thinking of Mr. Freeze, can be reasoned with and can be proportioned with and can accept and acknowledge the need for help.
Yeah.
But then some other villains who have decided on villainy and have chosen that even though they might be a bit crazy, that villainy is their path forward and what they want to do. Yes. Not him. I was thinking more along the lines... Oh, who did I have? There was someone who was really good. I can't remember now.
Okay.
I didn't write that one down.
Well, so that's cool. I think it'd be really interesting to obviously have her as this...
Poison Ivy.
Poison Ivy's a great idea.
The idea that she's actually not necessarily insane or anything like that. She's actually making this choice logically because it's the only way to get attention to her cause.
Okay.
Yeah,
that makes sense. And that's very in line with Poison Ivy, to be honest. Okay, so it would be really interesting. I think that she should definitely, instead of... I can imagine people are probably imagining that idea of almost being almost preachy, but she wouldn't be. I can imagine her being quite almost quippy at points, and almost not... But she's very psychological, Oracle is anyway. You know, Barbara Gordon is incredibly in tune with people's minds, and so can just have conversations and almost trick them into this conversation where all of a sudden they're discussing their morals, making them question it themselves rather than her putting suggestions in their heads.
If you want a sort of reference point, I think to the a very recent reference, the Sam Wilson conversation that he has with Flag Smasher. I can't speak. Flash Smagger.
Flag Smasher.
Flag Smasher in episode 4 of Falcon and Winter Soldier, and it's just a very down to earth conversation where both sides are equal. And it, obviously they would play out in costume again. She's trying to reach their side of life, their side of understanding. But it would very much play to that sort of character emotion.
Okay, my suggestion.
Go on, suggest.
This will play into Jason Todd as well.
Interesting.
So obviously some people may know that in the comics one of the big things about Barbara Gordon is she had a very close and actually romantic relationship with Dick Grayson. If you're saying that Dick Grayson's dead in this, maybe her motivation for the denouncing of Batman, maybe, as much as I'm not saying timelines line up, but maybe she's denounced him quite a while ago. And maybe the reason why she's so anti-Batman is because she knows who Batman is, she knows who Dick Grayson, obviously she was with Dick Grayson, and she blames Batman for the way he deals with things as the reason why Dick Grayson died. And it'd play into the hands of Jason Todd again, because once again, this is another character who is lording over Dick Grayson, but not him. No one's fighting Batman because he died. Everyone's fighting Batman because Dick Grayson died, and maybe that's another way of playing it into it. Because I think
I like it.
I think The only issue I'd have with it not being anything to do with Dick Grayson is because of this idea of, okay, but why is Barbara Gordon anti-Batman when Jim Gordon is pro-Batman? Why is there that rift?
Because Barbara Gordon doesn't believe in what her father is doing. Right. It's a she just considers what they're doing to be wrong, and that every time, and I haven't actually talked about what happens, but I'll get to that. Every time these villains escape again, more people are put in harm's way, and the way Batman does things doesn't work.
Yeah.
And that's the point of working with Hugo Strange and all that sort of stuff, to change things, to create a new approach. Yeah. I like the idea of her having a relation to Dick Grayson, but it's very important she has no ties to the Batman universe.
Right.
Because she is coming at this from a different point.
Right.
It's very much like in the Lego Batman movie, where she's got nothing to do with them.
Mm-hmm.
She just gets sucked into that sort of idea.
Cool.
And by the end of the series, she would have taken on the idea. She would have gained a wider and deeper understanding of what it meant to be Batman, and thus taking on the mantle, either Batgirl or Batwoman, potentially. Because Batgirl's a bit stupid nowadays. Or maybe just staying as Oracle, but working alongside Batman.
Okay.
Is the respect she gives. And again, for the Red Hood, again, so by the end of the series, the sort of end fight sequence is, we have Batgirl, we have Red Hood, and we have Batman fighting alongside each other. A sliver of a Bat family.
Yeah.
Which is sort of the arc. It's about, and another thing being Batman accepting help from both Joker, Batgirl, and Red Hood.
Okay.
Blah, 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 blah.
So what actually happens then?
So, we have that opening. We have Joker put in prison. And then we sort of see Lex's plan start to unfold. We maybe have a couple more conversations with Lex and Deathstroke. Obviously him pushing him to attack Batman, and Deathstroke drawing a line in the sand, almost threatening Lex, saying that you don't tell me what to do.
Yeah.
I will do what I think is right, and I'm not doing this for you. I'm not doing this for anyone else. I'm doing this for me because of what he did.
You should really watch the Titans TV show, because that's pretty much the same Deathstroke as you're describing.
Yeah, right. Well, this one's Joe Manganiello, because he actually looked kind of cool in his suit.
He
did. Based on that, there is a sort of breach of Arkham.
Oh.
Someone has infiltrated Arkham. Word has got to the GCPD, and they need to get them. They need to keep people trapped, because all the villains who are on the outside now want to get some friends from the inside out, so they can help them take down the Bat and figure out who it is.
Of course.
So the first couple of episodes, you have that first one with the takedown of Joker and that sort of thing, and maybe looking at the world of Wayne Enterprises, Barbara Gordon, introducing a plethora. And then in the second one, we sort of take Batman into Arkham and see him, yes, trapped very much again. Huge influences from the Arkham series, Arkham Asylum style, trapped in Arkham, trying to find out who the mole is and how he can do it, where the villains have already begun taking over and taking control of the situation.
Yeah.
Not so much comic book Mr. Freeze's own little ice room, like in which one's like Arkham City.
And also Arkham Asylum.
No, I haven't got that far. But the idea that the sort of mob, so the different mobs, that all the gangs, I guess, that we see set up in Suicide Squad. So the Penguin has his gang.
Yeah.
The Joker has his gang. Those sorts of people are in control, taking over the guards.
Yeah.
Which leaves Batman to get into some scrapes, maybe taken hostage, left in a room with the Joker, who, whilst tied up, sort of imparts that he knows Lex's plan, and he's not going to help him. But in saying I'm not going to help him, drops clues that help Batman, but Batman needs to be none the wiser to the idea of what Joker is doing, which is, if people kill Batman, Joker has no friend.
Yeah. And
I think you see it in that last scene of Zack Snyder's Justice League, like, he's reached the end of his tether, and I want this to be the start of the tether. This is that sort of friendship of, like, the push and pull, which just gets further and further and further apart until they're smacking into each other and Batman is ready to kill Joker.
Yeah.
And this is the sort of acknowledged need for each other in this show.
Cool.
There's a lot going on here. There's a lot of different things.
Yeah.
based on the assault on Arkham and what leads to be an escape, a massive breakout, is what leads Oracle to take to the streets, thinking that they can't wait any longer to get people inside the new Arkham, which they now want to build.
Yeah.
She needs to do something, and then she works again with Hugo Strange to sort of take over the prison system, take over Arkham, and build it into a sort of
Proper
reform. But more so a sort of a big building, but more so an Arkham City where people have their own place to live. They have a floor, if you will.
They're given the respect almost.
Yeah, they're given freedom. And it's not so much chaos in there, but I just kind of like the idea of like Ivy's in a room and it's all full of plants. It's not just this prison, it's just Ivy in there. It's just they're sort of given the freedom to be who they are, but within restraints, and that's part of their process of healing.
Yeah.
Healing, which is actually just Hugo Strange like trying to find out more and be all villainy.
Yeah.
As Deathstroke keeps taking his swipes at Batman, Red Hood is not going to allow Deathstroke to take him out. So Red Hood is sort of the defense of Batman. The opening to Arkham Origins again, you see Deadshot snipe away Deathstroke's sword when Deathstroke's about to do the finishing blow. And I can imagine that exact thing with Jason Todd. Jason Todd is basically just protecting Batman the entire time because he wants him to suffer. He can't just have him killed.
Yeah.
He can't just die. And that's where you sort of see the tear again coming in of like, well, Deathstroke just wants him dead. He doesn't really care about suffering or whatever. He's just like, well, an eye for an eye, you die, I'm happy. Red Hood wants suffer. Lex Luthor wants just destroy the icon, the image of Batman. But Red Hood then also can't have that because Red Hood knows the importance of Batman and does actually value that stuff. He just hates Bruce Wayne for being a bit of a neglectful parent.
Yeah.
And you sort of have all this spiraling of layers, and that's why this is a TV show. So we can explore all this. We can explore Commissioner Gordon not being happy with his daughter's approach to basically disagreeing on the world stage. So he's commissioner and she's like someone else, and she's like, nah, I disagree with you. And he's got that sort of old father, like, I've got to respect my daughter. But also, she doesn't know what she's talking about, which I think J.K. Simmons would actually do really well.
Yeah.
Having seen Invincible, if anyone's watched that show. And the way he sort of does disappointed dad at the very start is kind of cool.
So how did it end?
That's the big bit.
Yes, you forgot how it ends.
The point of this is people gain Lex's approval.
Okay.
But people also gain respect. People gain respect for what Lex did across the DC universe.
Okay.
And this is where someone approaches Lex with an idea. An idea seeded by Joker, but an idea planted by a group, if you will, of other people. That taking out Batman is one thing, but taking out the entire Justice League, Batman and his colourful... What's the word? I can't remember what the phrase
Compadres?
is. Whatever Joker says. Colourful compadre. Batman taking out the entire Justice League, rather than just Batman, is the move. Because once you take out Batman, they're all going to be on their watch. But if we attack them all together, they can't win.
Who suggests it?
Who suggests it? I don't really know. Because it depends on where the rest of the universe goes.
Right.
Being the Injustice League is what is set up here. Or the Legion of Doom, but I prefer Injustice League because I think it's I like they're just direct, they're just in. And I like, again, for sort of the visuals of this, you could have people are always going to be celebrating with Justice League, and it's just got in graffitied over whatever image is made about the Justice League, which would be the next Justice League movie. Is the idea that people like, potentially maybe Reverse Flash is the one that comes along and suggests it.
That'd be cool.
Knowing that he can't defeat Flash alone, he has to get a team together. But that sort of idea. And that this idea that Lex sets up everyone against Batman is what they're going to do for Justice League, and just set up the world against the Justice League of villainy, knowing exactly where to find them, being a Hall of Justice. So yeah, that's the show basically. Batman wins again, team up with Batgirl and Red Hood at the end. Deathstroke sort of having it's sort of Hobbit Battle of the Five Armies. You've got the Batman team. You've also got just Deathstroke and then you've got the villainy of Gotham, and it's just this idea of Deathstroke standing alone against everyone. So he walks away from the Injustice League, vowing to kill Batman at another time.
Yeah.
And he's basically just sort of biding his time.
That makes very much sense for that character. I think that's what I would say about the entire series, is as much as you may have changed things about certain characters, changed backstories, there's never a moment where I'm sitting there and you're describing someone, I'm like, but that's not something that character would do. Deathstroke is on point for the entire thing, makes complete sense for Red Hood, and we've seen it in a multitude of different medias and formats where Red Hood's appeared, and it is that I hate my father, I don't hate the idea of Batman. I just think he does things wrong. And I think that's a really interesting then to have also his antithesis being almost Oracle, of going, she's the beacon of hope that I think Batman thinks he's going to be because she's actually doing some good. Or
most importantly, the thing that Batman started out as, that he's no longer become.
And it's that reminder of the two, I think, things that maybe he's lost. And I think that's a really great psychological analysis of Batman. Is he can look at Barbara Gordon and go, I've lost this pure hope and faith that Gotham can be good. I've almost become this, Gotham's terrible, I've just got to beat everyone up. And that's why he maybe turns to killing because of course of what happened maybe to Jason and to Dick. And he also then sees Jason and goes, I've lost my family. Every time I did this isn't, this isn't compared to my parents where it wasn't exactly my fault. I lost these two who I loved. And I've not done enough, and now he's back and he still hates me because I've not done this. And it just shows that that almost, as you say, each one of them sort of shows a version of mental illness and stuff. And I think Batman is just in this point of self-loathing, I think, at the end of it, of just in the middle of it, say when he sees these people, he's like, this is me, this is what I've done, this is what I've created. None of this is any of their fault, this is all me.
Yeah, I try and think of the characters, if you different words around it, but the sort of chaotic.
Chaotic, neutral, lawful, good, stuff like that.
Good and evil, and those sorts of things. The idea that all the characters are like they're all on the same axis. They're all in this sort of grid, but their ways of approaching everything and the ways they see, and all the characters sort of have that opposite and the push and pull that it puts upon Batman, who's at the centre of all of this. They're all inspired and built up by him. They're all either trying to kill him or trying to prove him wrong or trying to get revenge on him. And it's so important that all these characters have that value on him. This isn't some sort of coincidental villain story where Lex Luthor's trying to do something and Batman's getting in his way. This is all about him.
Yeah, but what I also like about that is that as much as it's all about him, you're showing Gotham as its own being of this.
Yes.
Just because Batman's in the story doesn't mean that all the conflict, all the heroics need to be for Batman. You can have a conflict between Red Hood and Oracle. You can have a conflict between Deathstroke and Lex Luthor. You can have all these players as just massive chessboard. Batman is he's probably the most important piece, but it's just a piece. There's still battles going across the entire thing. I'm not surprised that you used Hugo Strange. I know that you've spoken about him a fair bit in different things that we've done, and he's obviously a character that's a real interesting player in the Batman universe. I think everyone quite happily talks about his equal in his mentality of the Joker. You've got his equal in physical attributes of Deathstroke, but the thing about Hugo Strange is he's almost better than him in his psychological analysis of people. He's almost better at manipulating people.
Well, I like the idea that he just has different goals. He's not after destroying anyone in particular. He just he likes to look at people and understand people, and then he wants to use those people to get what he can. He can control them. Again, this is not this series. This is at a later point, but the idea that he can be in a power situation. Someone who's never felt power before, he can now feel power, and I think that's what's exciting to Hugo. And again, it's just that idea of we always sort of see the Batman universe as represented as they're either trying to just do whatever it takes to take down Batman, which again you see in several of the characters throughout, but then you see the nuance in characters like Deathstroke where he knows who Bruce Wayne is. He knows where Bruce Wayne lives, and he could just walk into his bedroom at night and just stab him, but there is absolutely no joy in it for Deathstroke. He gets absolutely nothing out of killing
Bruce Wayne.
Bruce Wayne. He has to kill the Bat when the Bat knows he's coming.
Yeah.
Because that proves that he is better, which is what it's all about. Desperate that he's better, that he can get the vengeance. That I could protect my son. And that's what's important. Yeah. But one thing I forgot to mention, and I will very, very quickly mention it here, is also Talia goes in the show at some point as like an ex-lover of Bruce Wayne, and she has a son.
But we don't know whether it's his. We don't get any Easter eggs as whether it's his. It's just he's there, and anyone who knows who Talia al Ghul and Damian Wayne are will go, setting up a bit of things.
It's more just a way to throw him off kilter in another way because he thinks this is his son. And I like the idea that she almost tells him that it's not, but it actually obviously is.
Yeah.
And that's where we'd come back to further down the line, which is more of an exploration of his past, where I want this to be... This isn't about things Batman did 20 years ago. Or we're not going to get flashbacks particularly to Deathstroke's son. That's not what's important.
Yeah.
What's important to Batman is right here, right now. Red Hood, we might see some flashbacks to. Oracle, we might see some other stuff around. But for Batman, I don't care what he did about killing Deathstroke's son. He cares that Deathstroke's after him. He lives in the moment, and that's sort of, again, what's got him in so much trouble.
Yeah, he's not thinking long term. He's thinking here and now. I've got to save Gotham, sort of thing. Okay.
Yeah. That's it.
Name the series.
So, I had a few thoughts for this. Now, this is a bit dumb, but I kind of just did like the idea of... I really like the title Batman v Superman: Dawn of Justice. I think it was clever. It was potentially a bit much at the time, but I think looking back on it, it does fit. It just doesn't fit the theme. So I'd want to carry that on, and I would want to see Batman versus Deathstroke: Dawn of Injustice.
No, that's stupid. I like it. I like... If you were to just go Batman versus Deathstroke: Injustice, I'd agree. I'd go, okay, I can get on board with that. The fact it's literally a carbon copy, though, kind of bothers me.
The other thing that was a better title that's less sort of preaching to the choir would just be something like... Oh, what was it? It's gone off the tip of my tongue. It was right there. Something like, I'm really slowly dragging this out to remember.
Okay, do you know what I'd try and call it while you're trying to think of it? I'd probably I'd probably stay with just Batman as the sort of main heading, because, you know, if this is going to go for multiple series, different series will have... different seasons will have different titles. This one is Batman. Kill the Bat.
Oh, I thought of one. Oh, that's good. Kill the Bat. Or I put something like Batman Fall of Gotham.
Oh,
something to do with Gotham. I really wanted to get Gotham in the title, but I don't want to call it Gotham City because it is about Batman.
Yeah.
But something like that. I like Kill the Bat. That's good. So I'm calling it Kill the Bat.
Cool. You're welcome. Right. Okay. We'll get on to mine then. And I kind of went along the same kind of route. I think we both read the atmosphere around HBO Max, read the way that obviously AT&T were the ones who told Warner Brothers to do this, so let's face it.
Read the room.
Yeah, we kind of went, well, Warner Brothers don't want to be investing loads of money into it, but I'm pretty sure HBO Max does. Warner Brothers have obviously got a vested interest in HBO Max succeeding, and they've gone, well, we're going to put something on there. So I myself have also gone along the lines of a TV series, but for me, this is just filler. The Snyderverse sequel, the next installment, is just filler in between what comes next. So of course, we know the Flashpoint movie's coming. We know there's going to be probably a new Wonder Woman movie. We know... Well, I hope we're going to see some form of where Cyborg fits into this. We know that there may be Green Lanterns, and it's just this idea of, okay, we're going to sit in this universe for a little bit. So for me... This is where Snyder especially takes the opportunity to almost follow in the footsteps of WandaVision and Falcon and the Winter Soldier and going, right, we're going to examine these heroes as people. And so it's going to be a limited series, 6 episodes, high budget as always, and each episode is going to...
I think you should go for low budget.
Low budget. Batman's thing is just like cloth. It's basically his Adam West costume.
Do it.
No.
But it's like Ben Affleck and all the bad guys, but he's also just dressed as...
Yeah, it's just literally recreating the Batman 66 TV series. No, that's why it's got 6 episodes. No.
No, it's got 66 episodes, mate.
Oh, no.
We're going for life.
Right.
Sorry, continue.
6 episodes, high budget, and each episode focuses on a singular character. Now, there will be, so in each of the episodes, different characters show up. You'll see other members of the Justice League, because the whole point in this series, it's about how these characters now live with the knowledge of what they have, of what they gained in Justice League. Because I don't honestly believe that every single one of these characters came out of Justice League going, I'm in a better place than I was before. And that, we'll get onto, that's going to be immediately addressed in the first episode. But there is a overarching story that kind of intertwines these, and it only really comes to fruition in the last 2 episodes. But I will kind of spoil it a little bit from the start, just so we know where we're going. The big bad of this entire series, the thing that brings them back together by the end of it, is Starro, the first Justice League villain.
As a question.
Yep.
So there's 6 episodes.
Yep.
But there's 6 Justice League members.
Yep.
So whose episode has to have all time back together stuff?
You'll see why it's in the final episode, and it makes sense.
Okay, I have one more question.
Okay.
Have you seen the Suicide Squad trailer?
Yes. And it's nothing to do with that. It's completely separate.
Did you possibly come up with this idea already and then just doing it anyway?
Shush. Let me finish it, all right?
No, good. I'm excited. I like Starro.
And the thing is, I think this probably, if they decided they did this and then went, you know what, we can actually link this to Snyder, the Suicide Squad. I think it still makes sense, because Starro doesn't die at the end. Okay.
But this is like his origin.
Starro is created and he's defeated in this, and maybe at the end of this he goes to whatever facility he's in the Suicide Squad.
So it could be like a prequel. It could be.
Well, as I said, this is an in-between between the Snyderverse and whatever comes afterwards.
Okay. Shoot.
So, episode 1 focuses on, and they're all the titles are named after the character. So, episode 1 is Wonder Woman. And it's the one that comes basically immediately after the end of the Snyder Cut. Wonder Woman realizes that she's going to once again have to disobey the laws of Themyscira. So of course when Wonder Woman left Themyscira, she was told she was never allowed to return. But of course we all know what happened in the Snyder Cut is Themyscira was under attack, and she was told by Steppenwolf that if she was there, they may have been able to defeat him.
As a pause?
Yeah.
As a pause. Is that why she never goes back?
Yeah.
They were just like, nah, don't come back.
She was told if she leaves, she's never allowed to return.
That's so stupid in so many ways. Anyway, continue.
But of course, she can't reach Themyscira. It's not that she can just go back. It's not that easy. And so she sat there and she's homesick. She's like, but I can't go home. She's you go through this entire episode of she ends up facing a few bad guys. It's just thugs off the street, and each time she faces them, she is faced with this reality of family, of this reality of these people still have someone to go to. Of course, Wonder Woman stops killing people because she meets someone and who she's about to basically destroy the same way she did in the Snyder Cut, and she sees he's actually doing this because of his family, and he wants to go and he wants to go back to his family. He wants to bring his family back. As we know, there's a big issue currently in America where families are almost being separated because of the immigration stuff, and maybe that's something that they have to. This person's trying to get his family back over so he can be with them again, and all of a sudden she sees it as a reflection of herself, but she can't just return back to Themyscira. So of course, this is where we get our first appearance from another Justice League member. Aquaman.
Ooh.
Because whilst this happens pretty much directly after Snyderverse, the Snyder Cut, so does Aquaman. As in the movie. Yeah. So Aquaman is now king of Atlantis. And of course we know that the Atlanteans and the Themyscira and the Amazons had a massive feud spanning decades, and they still don't talk to each other. But Aquaman knows how to return back to Themyscira.
Okay.
And he's heard murmurs. And this is why he comes to her. He can feel there's an issue in the waters. There's an unbalance somewhere. Now,
he can feel it in his waters.
He can feel it in his waters, and he goes to Wonder Woman because he believes it's actually Themyscira. And the episode ends with Wonder Woman deciding, no, I have to go back. I have to go back to Themyscira because that is where, and she sort of says, no, I have to go back, and we don't. But here's the thing: we don't see her go back to Themyscira.
Okay.
Because just as she's about to go back, there's an alert that somewhere in the world is being attacked by Atlanteans. So it means her and Aquaman have to go there. Okay? That's where the episode ends. Because I think the next Wonder Woman movie could be Wonder Woman Return to Themyscira or something like that. Or Return of the Amazons. I don't know. So we now go to Cyborg. Episode 2 is Cyborg. And of course...
Okay, little cliffhanger.
Yeah, this episode features Flash. Because, of course, the two of them are both in the kind of same same place of... They don't quite know where they fit into this world because of their powers and what they can do. Obviously, Cyborg was told by his dad at the end of it, like, he could run the world, practically. And he's got the power to do it. It's just what he's now going to be defined on what he does with that power.
Okay.
And of course, Flash is incredibly intelligent. He's probably the only person who understands probably a lot of the tech that Cyborg goes through, apart from Batman, but he's off brooding somewhere else. This happens probably a couple of weeks down the line from the Snyder Cut. Those two have become quite good friends at this point. Cyborg's trying to find his place in the world, and Flash, obviously being quite the boisterous and excitable character that he is, he's trying to bring Cyborg into it. So of course it gets quite tech heavy. Flash is obviously at this point still drumming around the whole criminal investigations stuff. He's also working along some of the guys from Star Labs because of Cyborg. Cyborg is still part of the Star Labs stuff because of his dad. So the two of them are working alongside Kevin Choi. So Kevin Choi is also in this. He's developing loads of different stuff.
Kevin Choi?
Is it Kevin Choi?
Ryan Choi?
Ryan Choi, that's the one. I've wrote Kevin Choi down. Don't know why. Who's that?
Who's Kevin?
Don't know. Who's Kevin indeed?
Some guy called Kevin. That's his brother.
It's his brother. His brother's doing this as well. No, so Ryan Choi is there developing loads of different tech, and that's why he's getting the help of Flash. Flash is obviously being benefited by the tech that Ryan Choi is helping him out with, and of course he's working alongside Cyborg as well. And it's really these two finding their place amongst not only people but also heroes. And of course, Flash is like, no, you can be a hero, and you can do this. And of course, Ryan Choi, one of the things he is developing is also his atom suit. And we see in this universe, this is where Flash gets his Flash ring, because Ryan Choi helps develop this sort of like way of his suit coming out of his ring and sort of like becoming part of him.
So I like that a lot. Mm-hmm. Because for those of you that don't feverishly know random stuff, so it's referencing Justice League. Ryan Choi is the Atom, or will at some point maybe become the Atom.
Yep.
And in the movie Zack Snyder's Justice League, they reference him working on nanotech.
Yep.
So it makes a huge amount of sense for him to be the one to come up with that sort of nanotech growing suit. Is it like a weird rubber suit, or is it like nanotech, like Iron Man now?
No. It's like nanotech, like his actual suit. Because
of course Iron Man, or like a big balloon.
No. Like, so it's his same suit practically, just a little bit more polished, a little bit less dents in it and stuff. Because of course you see in the Nightmare version that he's in the same sort of suit, but he's also got the robotic stuff. So you have an incorporation kind of. You see the middle ground between what we see in Snyderverse and what we see in the Nightmare version.
Okay, cool.
But of course, Flash is also working to understand the Speed Force as well, and so you see there that Cyborg and him they're trying to find their place, and then all of a sudden, at the end of this episode, Cyborg realizes he can't really stay with Star Labs because there's not much he can do there, but he needs to find something. He's been inspired by Flash that he does need to find his place, and he gets a message from Batman.
Da-da-da-da-da.
and it says, "Come see me."
Is it on a red phone?
No,
Damn it.
it's in his head.
It's in his head?
It's in his head.
How
So-
does he do a message in his head? How are you going to
Signals.
explain? Why don't you just say he sends him a text?
He's Batman. That's how.
Why don't you just say he sends him a text, man?
Because how does he have it? He's not going to. Yeah, but
Alright.
Cyborg's not going to have a phone, is he?
Oh, I thought he sent it to Flash.
No, he sent it to Cyborg. Come see me.
Okay.
That's why it's in his head. Yeah, it's not makes
was
sense. It's in
confused.
Flash's head. Right. We then
So he
have.
sends him a text anyway.
Yeah.
Continue.
So that's how that episode's ends. So we've currently got 2 cliffhangers. We don't know where these guys are going, but we know Flash is looking towards how the Speed Force works.
Interesting.
And of course
Does it
we
work
then-
by Starro? Have I
No,
solved
no,
it?
no, 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 no. So we then have episode 3, which of course is the first one that directly follows up, because we have Flash next. And Flash almost starts to take his own advice. He was sort of inspiring Cyborg to find his place as a hero, but actually Flash needs to find his place as a person. We see him go back to see his father once again, where his dad's a little bit more upbeat because he's got this job, he's doing a lot with Star Labs, so it's a really great opportunity for him and stuff, but he's kind of obsessed with what happened to his mother, and that's a big part of Barry Allen's character. But we know he's got this personal side to him as well, that he's currently got a date on the books with Iris, who he obviously saved, but he's got a date with her, and he doesn't know where to go through it, and that's this conversation he's having with his dad. He's like, I don't know whether to go through it, I don't know whether this is the right thing to do, I'm really nervous, and he's being his skitty self, and his dad just says, look, you just got to do it. If it goes wrong, it's fine. You'll be able to do it all again one day. Flash takes this
because his dad knows he
literally.
can time travel.
No, his dad doesn't know he can time travel. He just means you can go on another date. There's plenty more fish in the
know.
sea, sort of thing.
I like the
But-
idea his dad was just like, no, it's okay, just keep time traveling. It's
But
fine.
here's the thing. Flash
Go on, go
goes, he literally takes that literally. So he goes on his date with...
Wait, he takes it. Okay.
He goes on this date with Iris. And it doesn't end up well. He says the wrong things, he becomes a bit weird, and so he travels back in time
Oh God.
to do it again. So he does it again. And this time it gets further, it goes quite well. It goes from the restaurant, they go out on a walk, and all of a sudden they run into one of his villains. I don't know, it could be Captain Boomerang, it can be Gorilla
Captain
Grodd,
Cold.
it could be Captain Cold. It'd be really cool to see Captain Cold. And of course he then has to
Maybe-
fight him, and then caught in the crossfire of this fight is of course Iris West. Flash does his
Is she
best,
dead?
and then Captain Cold's gun hits Iris.
Oh my God, she
Holy
dies.
crap.
Oh my
Flash
God.
goes, I can't have that happen.
Well.
Goes back in time.
Okay.
Before the date,
Seems like a proportionate response.
before the date, he captures Captain Cold before the date and sort of goes, I know what you're gonna do, so I'm gonna do this. And he goes on his date with Iris. And he goes on his date with Iris, and everything goes completely swimmingly, and she doesn't die this time, which is always a positive. And his date finishes, and he gets a peck on the cheek. It's all happy, and he suddenly realizes. He has that thought of, when he's first time traveling, he's like, should I do this? Is this the right thing to do? And of course he does it the first time, and he's like, okay, well, nothing really paradoxical goes on, and nothing really bad happens. I seem to be okay. But of course he's not seeing a future that he knew what was going to happen. He's seeing a future that he's rewriting anyway. So he's not technically considering this, and he's sat there saying to himself, what if I could do this on a larger scale?
Oh God.
And he has this idea, and he goes, well, things didn't go badly with Iris, things went really well. And of course, he's still obsessed. This is his first foray into his actual personal life, really, but he's still obsessed with his mother's death.
Yeah.
And he decides, he hits the screw it button, and he just legs it. And you see him go into the past. And the last shot we see of Flash in this instance is him running through the Speed Force. And just
Like a
as
Wally.
we end, good joke. Just as we end, we see a yellow streak running the opposite direction. Doesn't think anything of it.
Was it going in the opposite direction?
Because Earbard Thorn's from the future.
Oh, yeah.
So he's going back to the future.
Okay.
So they cross paths, but we're like, okay, what was that? And of course, that is where we end that episode. That sets up Flashpoint. Okay?
Oh, I see. He's just gone from murdering his mother to a few. Okay, carry on. I got it. Spoilers.
We now go into episode 4. Yeah, spoilers for the Flash movie that's never came out.
It's coming. Supergirl's in it,
Episode
maybe.
4 now being Aquaman. And this is where we start to speed up what's been going on before. So, of course, the 2 Easter eggs kind of thing as to what may be going on in the world in the bigger arc at the moment has been what we saw in the first episode with Wonder Woman and Aquaman, and the Atlanteans attacking the surface world, and of course in Star Labs we see some projects going on but not knowing exactly what's behind some of the closed doors. Okay, so we then get to Aquaman. And this one is... we get a fair few cameos in this one. Because, of course, Aquaman's had his own movie post-Snyderverse. It's just as Wonder Woman has. So we're going to see Aquaman in this. We're going to see Tamara Morrison as his dad back. We're going to see Mira.
I remember that movie really badly because I thought his dad died. Did he not?
No, his dad...
All right. I'm not.
I'm pretty sure his dad's alive because he returns his mother to his dad at the end of it.
Well, maybe. I've only seen it once. I'll leave it out.
We're going to see Mira. But this time played by Emilia Clarke. Recast,
Let's just skim over that one. Anyway, carry on.
But of course, what's happening in this, the reason why Aquaman gets the call for it, is because the surface world that's getting attacked is where his dad lives. And he's like, I've already saved the surface world from the Atlanteans. We've already dealt with Ocean Master. What in the world is happening? And as they arrive on scene, of course, you then have Mira is fighting off these people, and you see his dad's being protected by Mira currently. As Aquaman and Wonder Woman arrive, you see the Atlanteans. They have stars on their head.
Also, can I just pause before we go down this track? That Emilia Clarke is actually that's real good casting. That's actually very good.
I really hope it is what happens. Anywho.
Yeah. Sorry, I just took some time to digest that.
Because as well, you know there's going to be chemistry between Emilia Clarke and Jason Momoa. Because they were both...
I've not seen Game of Thrones because I only watch quality television.
Okay, well, anyway, they have previous chemistry. It makes sense it should be Emilia Clarke.
Game of Thrones. Sorry, carry on.
Anyway, so they arrive and we see the stars on the head. These mind-controlled Atlanteans, they turn, they see Aquaman, they see Wonder Woman, they see the two of them together, and they know they can't win. So they retreat. But not before they capture Mira. So one of Starro's stars goes onto his head. What goes onto her head?
To who?
Onto Mira's head.
Mira.
So it starts controlling Mira. So now Aquaman has a real vested interest into this.
Oh boy, does he.
So they go back into the water. Of course, Wonder Woman can't go into the water, but she decides she's going to stay on the surface world and keep him up to date if she sees any more attacks.
Yeah.
Aquaman goes into the water, and we find they go down towards the trench, but just on the precipice of the trench.
Yeah.
And that's where they're sort of congregating. So he investigates there. There's an underwater battle, and once again, the Starro-controlled people, they believe that they can fight off Aquaman on his own. So they fight him until Aquaman manages to rip one off using the trident, almost like zapping it with the trident's power that obviously he's gotten in Aquaman.
He doesn't just stab it straight through his head.
Well, no, because that's going to kill the person behind it.
Which is why I kind of... So here's a suggestion for your show. I like the idea that Aquaman just murders someone by first because he's an idiot. I mean, he's like, I've got to find a different way of doing this. I think that'd be really funny.
Maybe he does.
He just kills him, and he's just like...
It's like, sugar. Right, but the person he frees is obviously Mira. The two of them together are able to fight off the others, but before... They fight off the other. Mera uses her water-bending powers to basically dry out the starfish.
Oh, the little Steppenwolfy thing, that was cool.
Yeah, so dries out the starfish, but not before one of them is able to get away. So they then track the other one. They follow him down. They try and find out where he's going, and he goes to Metropolis Harbour.
Little Metropolis, little Superman.
Of course, they radio in Wonder Woman, and Wonder Woman is there on the bay, ready for this person to arrive. And of course, she believes it's just going to be one of them.
Yep.
But of course, there seems to be this darkness surrounding this one as they're following through the water. And so we see in the pitch black of night, Wonder Woman waiting on Metropolis Harbour. The Starro mind-controlled Atlantean comes out, but so does Starro mind-controlled Trench. An entire swarm of them attacking Wonder Woman. Aquaman and Mera come back out as well. And they're all fighting these Trench on the harbour. Of course, Wonder Woman and Mera and Aquaman have no issue with killing the Trench. But that one Atlantean, they're trying to save him. They're trying desperately to try and save him, to make sure that he doesn't die. But it's just not enough. The longer he's there, the more he's able to then infect the Trench around him and so it's just a never-ending battle. They know the only way they can actually defeat these people is by killing this Atlantean. And of course, you then have Aquaman faced with this idea of, okay, I want to be the king of Atlantis, but I also need to save the surface world. I can't just be king of one and not care about the other. And this is where we see where he's left at the end of the Snyder Cut, because he's in this position now where he's like, I have a duty. You know, he can't ignore and can't just save one little jumper sniffing village. He's got to save any type part of the surface world, and he's gone, I've got to make sacrifices. And so he does, as you say, he throws his trident and kills the final
straight through his head.
Yep, straight through his head.
Oh, I just want to see that.
And of course, that causes the Trench to suddenly become unmind controlled from Starro.
Okay,
and they
interesting.
All leave. So that's episode 4. So of course that ends with this sort of like the three of them sat there going, what in the absolute world was that? And Mera is completely baffled. She believes that was the end of it. Aquaman's like, no, that came from somewhere. That was not just the final place. And then we take a little bit of a break in episode 5 almost, where we go to Superman. Now, as I've said to you previously, Superman for me is the embodiment of hope. He's this character that should always be uplifting. The moment he walks into the room, it's just like, my gosh, he's Superman. Everything's going to be okay. But in this, we see a Superman where his greatest flaw is the thing that always kind of gets to him in the comics. It's the reason why Superman is not invincible. He's human as well as the fact he's Kryptonian. You know, he's got this humanity to him. And he's now having to deal with this fact that, yes, as Superman, he can return and they can explain it as well as Superman. But how does he return as Clark Kent? Clark Kent had a funeral. Clark Kent had, remembrance services. He had a eulogy. He can't just return to the living and go, I just kind of didn't die. And he's so now trying to find his place once again as a person, as a man, as Clark Kent.
I would admittedly like the idea that he just rocks up to the Daily Planet and everyone's like, oh my god, aren't you dead? And then he's just like, nah.
That does happen by the end of the episode, but we'll get there.
No, but I like the idea he just doesn't question it. He's just like, nah, I'm alive. I never died.
So he's trying to sit there. He's trying to understand. And in this one, as I said, we get a couple of cameos that are just ever so quick.
Yeah.
The first one is not chronologically. The first one I would talk about is Cyborg, and that's probably the way that he ends up regaining his life. Cyborg finds that the way he's able to be a hero and not break the system is through the manipulation of data. He's able to do all the things, do all the paperwork, and reinstate Superman as Clark Kent. He's able to bring him back in a literal sense in the paperwork, and that's where he comes in by the end of it. But he's obviously been told to do that because of Batman. Now, I'll get into Batman's sort of cameo later on in the episode. But the way that Superman decides he's going to return is not by being a hero as Superman. It's by being a hero, or being, for want of a better word, a detective as Clark Kent. He goes back to the thing that he was before, an investigative journalist. And he realises, he sees on the news this attack that Wonder Woman and the Aquaman has had to deal with right underneath Metropolis Harbour. And he's like, but what's there? So he takes a walk down past the statue of him, as a god and stuff like that, past the memorials, hailing the return of Superman, but of course he's Clark Kent. And he goes down to the harbour, and he sees, using his X-ray vision, that there's some kind of tunnel that leads underneath from the harbour and goes towards Star Labs. So he's sat there and he's thinking, okay, something is amiss here. He does some digging when he's at home. He's on the good old trusty computer, hacking as they always do on these computers, just tapping away. And he's trying to figure out how he gets to
is he going to do super speed fingers?
He does indeed do super speed fingers. He's super reading as well. And he can't find anything. Everything is restricted. And he gets a knock on his door. Because, of course, by this point, Lois is back at work. And he gets a knock at the door. And he looks through. And he looks confused. Because, of course, using his X-ray vision, he can see that it's Perry White physically. But something seems amiss. And so he opens the door and he lets Perry in. And Perry doesn't seem to be surprised that it's Clark. So they have a very pleasant conversation. Superman, obviously, as Clark, is almost running a bit of rings around him, trying to manipulate him, trying to get the truth from him. Until finally he almost gives up at the end and he just goes, "You're not Perry." And Perry's like, "Clark, what are you talking about?" He goes, "Perry doesn't know that I'm back."
Dun 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 dun.
Perry's and then all of a sudden Perry almost as we know, Lawrence Fishburne's a very good actor, so he's probably very able to do this. His body language changes, and it's almost as if, just like when Superman changes from Clark into Superman, his body posture completely shifts, and it's almost like he's playing a different character. And we suddenly see Perry White once again shift into Martian Manhunter.
Knew it.
And so they're sat there then having this conversation. There's none of this, false pretenses about why Martian Manhunter's here. And he's just wanting to see Clark return back to life. He knows the importance, just like he did in the Snyder Cut, he knows the importance of the person, not just the hero, returning.
Yeah.
And he implores Clark to actually go to and turn up to Star Labs and investigate in person. Of course he does, because of course these people, they don't know that Clark's dead.
True.
You wouldn't know, that the person you walk down in the street, if you don't know them personally, is supposed to be dead. So he still uses his investigative journalist, sort of like he uses his Daily Planet badge and stuff to get himself into it, and he uses his X-ray vision to have a look. And all of a sudden, he's investigating. He's trying to figure out where these Starro kind of people came from, and he just sees. He's walking through the halls of Star Labs, and he uses X-ray vision to see that there's actually a fake wall, and inside of it is just a tank, as in a fish tank, a giant tank of water.
Ooh.
The reason why he notices the wall is fake is because he can see water running from outside of it. As he gets into the wall, he just sort of super strengthens it off. He's not going to do any of the usual, I'm going to find a secret wall. Nope. Push it out the way. He goes in there and he just realises that nothing's in the tank. and he's confused. And he's trying to use his super hearing. He's looking around. He's doing the usual Henry Cavill face of just trying to twitch it, almost trying to activate his super hearing to see if he can hear anything moving through the halls. Until all of a sudden he hears, "Come on, you're smarter than that. You know you can hear me." And of course the voice is Bruce Wayne.
Da 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 da.
And Bruce Wayne says to him, "The two are linked. I'm trying to figure out myself. I think really something's been happening at Star Labs where they've been developing something and almost exposits a little bit as to where these creatures came from, but he doesn't know the true end of it." And he says, "Meet me at the manor. Meet me at the manor in a couple of days." And of course, Clark, he realises that he was onto something. He realises, well, if the world's greatest detective also was looking into this, maybe I've not lost my my edge as an investigator. And he thinks, I'm going to return as Clark Kent. And of course, that's where Cyborg then comes in. He returns all of his data back, and he can just go back into Perry White's office and go, "I hear you're looking for a reporter." And everyone's very much dumbfounded about how he's returned. But they just sort of they look on the system. They look on his service. What are they called? What's the American national ID sort of stuff?
Yeah.
Where they realise
Social security number.
Social security number. They check it up, and of course his records say that he was reported dead after going missing in the Doomsday whole thing, but was actually in a coma the entire time. And yes, we're going that bullcrap because that's the DC universe for you. These guys, they return from the dead so often, they have to just have stupid reasons. And I'm not going to fray from that because unlike other DC officials, I am not afraid of doing stupid things because it's just going to be one of those things you go, yeah, that's fine. It's the DC universe.
Can I make a suggestion that's slightly less stupid?
Go on.
But I think works too. The same thing. You just say he was like on an undercover assignment. He was like a special assignment organised by...
Yeah, but Perry White as the leader of the newspaper would know that.
No, like the military or someone. So he's got friends because Lawrence Fishburne's like the... No, Lawrence Fishburne's Perry White.
Yeah.
Who's Martian Manhunter?
General Swanwick.
Yeah, General whatever.
That's probably a good idea. Yeah, we'll go with that. Okay, I'm changing it. We'll go with that.
He's been on a secret mission and they had to pretend he was dead so that the whoever he was after, I don't know, didn't just whatever.
Maybe he goes in there and Perry White doesn't question it. And he goes, "Oh yes, the general let me know." And as Clark turns around and goes, "The general," he sees Martian Manhunter's General Swanwick in the corner, just saluting him and walking off. And it's like, right, there we go then. So we now get to the final episode.
What's it called?
This is Batman.
And
there's a reason why Batman has everyone else in this episode. Well, everyone bar Flash. Because what was Batman missing all along? Why was he killing people? Why was he in this stupor?
Boredom.
And it's... But what was he missing? What did he gain? What did he, unlike these other people, really come out of the Snyder Cut in a better place? Why was that the case? Because once again, Batman had a family.
Ah, who was it? Are they dead now?
The rest of the Justice League.
Oh. I wanted Batman to be sad again.
So we get on to Batman and we have a bit of a montage through the other episodes as we see what else has been happening. And Batman's been building the Hall of Justice. He got Cyborg involved because he needed a supercomputer being built. And he knew that Cyborg had the means, just like he saw with the ship, to help him build this. And of course we see the evolution and the creation of Brother Eye, which doesn't come into things at this point, but of course is a bit of an Easter egg for where things might be heading for Batman. We see him use Martian Manhunter, because of course he gained his... He's the world's greatest detective. He goes up to General Swanwick's office and goes, "I need your help." And he goes, "Why should I help you?" And he goes, "Don't play coy with me, I know who you are." And of course Martian Manhunter's like, "Well, I suppose I should not have expected any less from the world's greatest detective," sort of thing.
But he introduced himself.
Yeah, but not
he didn't introduce him. As
General Swanwick. Right. And that's where he uses General Swanwick to obviously get to Superman and to bring him back into the fold. But of course, we pick up there because, of course, this is where he asked Superman to come to the manor. When Superman comes to the manor, it's still a bit of a wreckage on the outside, but you can see there's a lot of work going on. And he walks into the main hall where we saw him leave with Diana last time, and he says, I'm going to have a table and 6 chairs, and we see that has now come to fruition. It's probably one of the only rooms in the entire manor which has been fully decked out and built, and on the one side is his newfangled Bat computer with Brother Eye built into it. And so the two of them discuss Superman's findings. They discuss obviously what happened at the harbour. Wonder Woman arrives having got the same message, and then of course Aquaman quickly follows, and they all sort of talk about, okay, but what's caused this? What's been the cause of this? And all of a sudden, Brother Eye pops up, and he goes, data behind the firewall of Star Labs has been reached. And all of a sudden you see a video of a small star in this tank. And it's not, and they think it's sped up. They think it's time-lapse. They think it's something like that. Because within a matter of minutes, that small star replicates and duplicates. But the original one, it grows. And it grows. And you see as it breaks out of the tank, just as we saw in Superman's episode, we know that he got out of there. So he breaks out of the tank, but instead of killing the workers that were around him that were studying him, those small stars that he ended up duplicating and creating latch onto their heads and they get him out. So Star Labs has been hiding this because it's the typical government agency. These guys were told to be investigating this alien life form that came alongside the Superman ship, and so the Justice League as they are now, they are 6 members still, because of course you got Martian Manhunter replacing the Flash, who's off doing stupid things in Flashpoint. And they decide we've got to do something, but we don't know where this thing is.
Yeah.
And Batman goes, yes, we do. Because there's only one reason why they went to the Metropolis Harbour. Yeah. They were going to their nest. So they go to the same place, and Batman throws a flare. Very similarly to how Aquaman does to go down into the trench. He throws a flare down into the harbour, and all of a sudden you see this giant, as the flare goes down, it drops down the flesh of Starro, and you can see the top of its sort of first star point, and you see as it goes down, you see the pure scale, and all 6 of them look at each other and go, crap. Because they've now got the attention of Starro. Starro's like, I've been discovered, I can't hide here anymore. We know he's super intelligent. And all of a sudden, a load of the trench, who of course we know had been mind controlled previously, jump out of the water and attack the Justice League. And of course, I'll cut a long story short. The Justice League win. They prevail. They don't kill Starro, because of course the one thing that I think all of them have learned in this whole thing is that second chances need to be given. Batman got his second chance of family. Superman got his second chance of being Clark Kent. Aquaman gets his second chance of saving the surface world as well as his kin. You have Wonder Woman wants her second chance of going home, and Cyborg gets a second chance of life. Yeah. And so they decide, we're not going to kill it. This was created for a reason. It's sentient. It's not a mindless killing machine. It's just trying to protect itself. So they decide the only place that they can give it to, because they can't trust Star Labs, is Argus.
That's going to backfire.
Well, yeah, as we all know. And that's how it ends. But of course, it ends with the revelation that the Justice League are together. The world has now seen them in Metropolis. This isn't in a backwater place that no one really knows what's happening. They, no film cameras. The Justice League are together. This is when they officially get their name, the Justice League. This is where they all sort of go, we're in the public eye now. We're all returned. We have to be a team properly. And of course, that's when almost things get accelerated, and we see the final version of the Hall of Justice and the 6 of them around the table looking at the map of the world and multiple events happening across the world. And that's where we end it.
Whatever that theme music was from.
That was...
I like it. So I have...
AMC? No.
Oh
Cineworld.
no, it's not. It's Cineworld, isn't it?
Yeah.
I have some thoughts, some feelings, some considerations. So I think it's good. I think that's a good way to like continue on. I think my only point with it would be, is it too small? And I say that in the sense, I say that in the sense of, one of the things that drives shows nowadays is all the Easter eggs and all the characters, because you don't really introduce anything new. But shall I tell you what I would like, if this exists, I would pay for right now. This would be amazing as, and do not take this the wrong way. Like, this is like a perfect sequel comic.
Oh, okay.
Like, in-between-qual comic of like, I can just literally see it. There's like, there's one episode for each member of the Justice League.
Yeah.
And like, it comes out. Like, that, you've like absolutely nailed the in-betweener story.
Yeah. Well, that's the whole point.
I think,
it's supposed to be.
Yeah, and I think it fits perfectly. I think other things I'd say is, I think Wonder Woman's a terrible place to start if she doesn't go to Themyscira. If her entire episode is about, maybe I should go to Themyscira, and then she doesn't go to Themyscira.
Well, because this happens
the entire
right after
series.
it. She's still hell bent on going to Themyscira. It's just she gets caught up in this whole, as Wonder Woman always seems to do. She has one idea, one thing to do, and she gets caught up in everything else.
And how does the Flash get back from the past?
He doesn't. He's not in that. Past the midpoint, he's not in it.
You said all 7.
I said all 6, because Martian Manhunter replaced the Flash.
Oh, okay. Okay, but then I think you should do a Martian Manhunter episode. And that can be the Flash.
No, because
it's weird to have
he's the one thing that sort of appears in a lot of the different episodes.
Okay, fair enough. I see it. Also, I think you should change the episode titles. Tiny thing. You should call them like the Scarlet Speedster.
Ooh.
Or like the Lone Amazon. Like, don't just use their name. Use like
that's cool.
Not the Dark Knight, because that's overdone. But something, one of the Cape Crusader.
The Bat Family.
Or the world's greatest detective.
Yes. Oh, that's good. So I'd probably go, okay, Wonder Woman is Lone Amazon. I like that. Cyborg is the... Oh, it's got to be something like the Robotic Man or something like that.
Booyah. Why don't we call it Booyah?
The Flash it has to be the Scarlet
Speedster. Mind of Steel.
No. Aquaman is...
I tried.
Between Two Worlds, because he's caught between the surface and the
or he could just be King of Atlantis.
Maybe, yeah. Superman is what do I call Superman?
You could call that Clark Kent.
Maybe, yeah. Or Superman Reborn.
Yeah.
Then Batman has to be the world's greatest detective. That's quite cool.
Yep.
Because for me, that's what Batman should be.
Yes.
But yes, so that's my... The series itself is called just called Justice.
That's good.
And I like the idea of it being like a comic. That would be really quite cool. And I think the series, they do fit in quite nicely into the comic.
Yeah,
sort of like
I just
idea.
feel that the way the story is built is like, well, you've got a story in each issue, but then you need all the issues to tell the whole story.
Yeah.
But because there's nothing new, there's Star of it, and there's no like new Easter eggs or whatever, or characters. It feels
there's
such
Easter eggs
like that
and there's
sort
characters, because each episode sets up what their next movie might be, but I still think that would work, because all the Easter eggs and stuff are still in world. They're nothing. It's not like I'm bringing in Green Lantern, but then I think because of the fact that these lead into the films, I feel like just like WandaVision and Falcon, this can't be a you have to watch this to understand the next film.
Yeah.
This has to be like okay, stuff's going to happen, it's going to continue the characters, and you're going to get a better understanding of who they are, but fundamentally, if you don't watch this, the films will still make sense.
I mean, it's good. I think I really like the way we've both taken a sort of different approach. So you've tried to look at the Justice League as a whole and keeping them together, and I've definitely focused on that. I like them in their worlds. I like them coming together, but I think I like seeing Batman in his own world because we haven't had that yet. I just want it. I just want Ben Affleck Gotham. But seeing the snippets of the corners of people's worlds, so you see a bit more of Aquaman and Atlantis. You see Flash and Cyborg and their relationship. It certainly works in a TV way in that front of you're getting the extra scenes that you want, if that makes sense. With the development, you're getting the character development in there, which obviously there isn't always time for in these movies, these epic tales.
Yeah.
So I think that pretty much sums up. That's where we take our Snyderverse. Thank you for tuning in to Snyderverse Week. If you haven't already, go and check out our post view for the Snyder Cut itself. And stay tuned for our channel for, I'm sure, lots more talking about the Snyderverse as well as other DC properties. So subscribe to stay on that front. You should follow us on Twitter, follow us on Instagram, and like us on Facebook. And leave a comment to let us know what you think and what your idea for where the Snyderverse should go next. See you next time, guys.
See you soon.